Hello, everyone. I wish I'm audible properly to all of you, right? I must admit I've been late by 1 minute. The reason is I'm still facing some technical issue here. Google is showing that something has gone wrong with this YouTube channel with this live streaming, right? So that's the reason why we got late by 1 minute. Anyway, let's start with the session here itself. Okay. See, today the session that we are conducting here, this is about understanding the nature of civil services examination. Okay. I'm not going to burst any myth here that we have been doing again and again on various platforms. I have been doing that on so many platforms, when we were interacting physically or otherwise. I have been doing that thing again and again. So I'm not going for this bursting the myth about civil service examination anymore. Rather, what I'm going to do, I'm going to discuss the philosophy of this examination. This very examination that takes place, this civil services examination that takes place. What is the philosophy of this examination? I'm going to go for that. Okay. Why UPSC conducts this examination? What is the overall philosophy of civil service examination? And then subsequently, what are the philosophies of the different parts of this examination? Say, if we talk about prelims, what is the philosophy of prelims? What they try to ascertain in prelims. Similarly, what do they try to do in mains? What they try to ascertain in mains, and in personality test, what do they try to ascertain? We are going to look into those philosophies, right? That's the reason why we are here today, to discuss this particular philosophical part of the examination. Fine. In the beginning, I'm not going to entertain any question, but obviously, once I complete my topics, once I complete my discussion, I would love to take the queries and questions from you people. So please feel free to post your queries in the chat section. That will be visible to me. So once I finish my discussion, I will be going for the chat section. I'll be getting the queries from there, and I'll be discussing those queries. So don't hesitate in putting your queries out there. Okay. Let's come back. Let's go for the discussion here. See, this very examination, the essence of this civil service examination is to find out whether the candidates whom UPSC is selecting, whether they are suitable, whether they have that acumen to be a civil servant or not. What do we mean by this? What do we mean by acumen? What do we mean by temperament? These aspects. Let me give you an example from outside civil services. During my prolonged academic career, I came across quite a few students, right? Let me talk about one of the persons who's very well known to me. This person, he wanted to be a marine engineer, right? He was good in studies. He became a marine engineer. He joined Shipping Corporation of India. As a marine engineer in Shipping Corporation of India, he started working there. Now, what happened? For a marine engineer, they have to be on the ship, on the sea for quite a prolonged period of time, at least for 9 months a year. They be on the ship, right? This person was not being able to handle that pressure, right? You may think that what's there in being a ship for 9 months, but when you are there on the ship for 9 months, on the high seas for 9 months, without any contact with the land, without any contact with the people who are known to you, right? That actually puts some kind of mental strain on you. And after a point of time, after 2-3 years, this person was not able to continue anymore. He had to leave his job. He came back. Subsequently, he started teaching in a college. Okay. So here, what am I looking at? Because of his academic proficiency, this person, he could very easily get into the marine engineering stream. But ultimately, he didn't have that mindset. He didn't have that acumen. As a result, he couldn't survive in that job. Right? Now, say for a civil servant, right? The civil servants, a lot depends on them. So, say for example, if a civil servant joins the services and then after some point of time, they realize that they are not suitable, they can't adjust with the job, the pressure, the mindset, they cannot adjust with it. Do you think the government or the UPSC will be having any opportunity to replace them in the middle of the life? No. By that time, a lot would be depending on them, and they are being given uh, appointment by the president of India. So all of a sudden, in the middle of the life, they cannot altogether be terminated, right? Given these things, from the very beginning, UPSC tries to ascertain whether a person has the right mindset, whether the person is having that acumen to join the civil services or not. That's what they try to ascertain. Okay, and keeping these things in mind, they have structured this examination. I know till today you have heard about lots of myths and lots of discussions about civil service examination. As I told you, I'm not going to break those myths right now. Now, there are other platforms. I have been doing it. I will keep on doing it. That can be done some other time. But right now, let us look into what they're actually trying to find out. By they, what I mean, UPSC. Now, let me be very honest here. I'm not going to talk about WBCS. I'm not going to talk about UPPCS or BPSC, Bihar PCS, or Orissa PCS, OPSC, or any of these examinations. Why? Because most of these state PCSs, state public service commissions, they have structured their examination by taking inspiration from UPSC. As a result, those examinations, they also have similar structure or similar philosophy to be followed. So if we understand the philosophy of the civil service examination as conducted by UPSC, we can very easily understand the philosophies of those examinations as well. That's the reason why I'm not separately going to discuss about those examinations. Okay. We know that the prelims, the civil service examination is actually divided into three parts, right? First, the preliminary examination, then the main examination, then the personality test. That's how the examination is structured. See what they do. As we understand, the preliminary examination is essentially a test of sincerity. Let me tell you some additional informations here as well. People would be telling you that this year some 11 lakh 50,000 people, they have filled up the form. So many people are going for this examination. Believe me, from the various annual reports of UPSC, every year UPSC comes out with its annual report, what they have been doing for the last 1 year. What do I see? More than half of these candidates who have filled up the application, they don't appear in the examination. So if I talk about the last annual report that was published by UPSC, that is 72nd annual report, that says in that very year, some 11 lakh 50,000 people, they filled up the form, but only 5 lakh 10,000, 5 lakh 11,000 people, they appeared in the examination. They appeared in preliminary examination. So from here itself, you can understand that more than half of the people, they don't appear altogether. So don't be fooled and don't be baffled by this figure of 11 lakh 50,000. Don't get baffled by that figure. That figure actually means nothing. So please cool down, right? In the very beginning, let me tell you, this examination is for those people who can keep their heads cool. Not just prelims, I'm talking about civil services examination, right? Before I start discussing about the philosophies of prelims, mains, and personality test individually, let me talk about the overall philosophy of civil services examination. What is UPSC trying to ascertain here? Number one, see, any civil servant, that may be an IS officer, an IPS officer, an Indian Foreign Service officer, Indian Forest Service officer, or an Indian Revenue Service income tax, or an Indian Revenue Service customs access officer, doesn't matter. they would be encountering number of difficult situations in their life during the course of their services. Half of these experiences that they would be gaining, these would be unique. Maybe they would be facing those difficulties, maybe they would be facing those problems for the first time. See, these people, they deal with the society, and the society is ever evolving, ever changing. With the changes happening in the society, day by day, the nature of the problems, the nature of the difficulties which are faced by these civil servants, they keep on changing. So naturally, don't expect that there can be a book or there can be prepared pro forma, okay, fine, in this situation, this is how you're supposed to deal with. Right? So naturally, day by day, these people, the kind of difficult situations that they're facing, right? The difficulty level is also increasing. And at the same point of time, the nature of these problems are also changing. Please try and understand, even today, when we are talking here, the population of India has become something more than 145 crore. Today, we are practically the most populous country in the world, living in merely 2% of the geographical land space of the world. More than 16% of the population of the world living in less than or around 2% of the geographical space. So you can easily understand from here, from this data that I gave you just now, that the people who are dealing with the situation, for them, day by day, the difficulty level is increasing. So whether they have the right mindset, whether they can keep their head cool, they can be analytical, whether they can employ their common sense, these are the aspects which UPSC tries to ascertain. Believe me, I've heard this statement again and again, what kind of questions are being asked by UPSC, right? They're making the examination so difficult, they are making it so tough for the students. No, UPSC's job is not to disturb a common student. UPSC's job is not to unnecessarily disturb you or bother you. Nah, UPSC is doing its own job. They're just trying to understand whether you can keep your head cool, whether you have the right mindset, whether you can use your common sense, whether in a difficult situation, while keeping your head cool, you can be analytical and you can analyze the situation rightly and you can take fast decisions. Because believe me, on the ability of your decision making, lives of number of people would be depending. Clear? Number of people who would be there. Say you being the subdivisional magistrate of a district, and maybe that district, maybe that subdivision is going to be hit by a cyclone or a storm. Tell me, and the nature of the storm, obviously based on that, and the population proportion and everything. Tell me how many people they're going to depend on your decision making skills, on your ability to read the situation rightly. Right, their livelihoods and so many other aspects are going to be affected. So given these things, UPSC has shaped the nature of this examination. So please don't blame UPSC. No, they are not unnecessarily making this examination difficult. Nah, they're just trying to do their own job. They're trying to understand whether you fit into the profile or not. Clear? Now, given the basic understanding of the philosophy of civil service examination, now let's look into the philosophy of the individual examinations. That is preliminary examination, main examination, personality test. Okay. See, in prelim, what they do, I told you just a while back that prelim is essentially a test of sincerity. Now, a candidate who's sincere about civil service examination, a candidate who's preparing sincerely for civil service examination, the candidate would know that preliminary examination is not the primary examination. It is not the main thing to be dealt with. Now, so what this candidate would be doing? This candidate would always be going for an integrated preparation approach. where the person would be preparing both for prelims and for mains. Why? Because after prelims, after you appear in prelims, how much time will you be having in your hands to appear in main examination? Just 3 months' time, right? In these 3 months, you cannot prepare for main examination from the scratches. At best, you can revise during that period. And then again, see, your rank in the final merit list will not depend on the score you have attained in preliminary examination. Rather, your final rank in the merit list would be depending on the score you have achieved in main examination. So if a candidate is sincere, the candidate would be always willing to give more time to main examination than to preliminary examination. Because as the term is, preliminary examination is a screening test. What do they screen? They screen whether the candidate is sincere or not. And as I was telling you, that if a candidate is sincere, the candidate would be knowing that it is ultimately the main examination, the marks scored or achieved in a main examination is going to help the candidate to be in the final merit list. Right? So naturally, the candidate would be giving more time to main examination than to preliminary examination. Keeping this thing in mind, they structure the preliminary examination. You can very easily ask me ki, how are they doing this? See what they do. In preliminary examination, out of the 100 questions, at least around 70 to 75 questions would be there, which would be common to the syllabus of both prelims and mains. Okay. So if a candidate is preparing properly for the civil service examination, not just for prelims, the civil service examination, as I told you, that since the candidate is going for an integrated preparation, they're getting quite a handful amount of questions which would be common to the syllabus that they have studied. Something to the tune of 75 questions which would be common to both preliminary and main examination, to the syllabus of both the examinations. But then there would be something around 25 questions more, which would be specifically from the syllabus of preliminary examination. And this is where the catch point is. In preliminary examination, there is the option for negative marking, right? Negative marking is there. We all know that. Now see what's happening. If you mark 3 wrong questions, 3 wrong answers rather, not questions are never wrong. They're given by UPSC. So if you mark 3 wrong answers, what will happen? Given the 1/3 negative marking, you will be losing 1 right answer. Okay. Now see, if a candidate is actually having the proper acumen for civil services, that candidate would be very reserved. This candidate would not be doing anything outlandish. This candidate would be very steadfast in his or her approach. So they would always try to attempt those questions about which they're pretty much sure. Right? They would never be doing something outlandish, something very funky, something like that. No, they would never be doing that. So what happens? For those candidates, there are those 75 questions about which they have prepared. They have prepared properly. Right? Let them attempt those 75 questions. And then what they'll be doing? Not just 75, say they attempted 72 questions. Even 3 questions they couldn't attempt. 3 more questions they couldn't attempt. They attempted 72 questions. Fine. Doesn't matter. Right? Even for a very confident and steadfast person, it's not possible to say that they would be marking every question right. So let's assume that out of these 72 questions, right, the candidate marked 12 questions as with wrong answers. So the candidate marked 12 wrong answers there out of the 72 answers that the candidate gave. Because that candidate marked 12 wrong answers, Four right answers would be deducted. So what is the NATE score now? 56, right? 12 wrong answers, they're gone. Plus, because of those 12 wrong answers, given they're carrying 1/3 negative marking, 4 right answers would also be deducted. Now, what is the NATE score for the candidate? 56. 56 multiplied by 2, that comes to 112. You check out the last 5 years cutoff marks. This person, just by being steadfast, just by maintaining cool, maintaining the composure, this person is qualifying in preliminary examination. You may ask me, then what about those 25 questions which are there, the additional 25 questions which I'm not talking about? Believe me, UPSC would be testing you. They would be asking those 25 questions from various areas of the syllabus about which you have not prepared properly. Every year after prelims, you will find candidates shouting, screaming, saying, God knows from where UPSC is asking these questions. We actually get tired telling them that why are you bothered about those questions? Those questions were not to be answered. They were to be left behind. They were to be left aside. Those questions were there to catch a candidate in the trap of negative marking. Those questions are not only difficult for you, they are difficult for everyone. So why are you bothered about those questions? Clear? But candidates would keep on trying to attempt those questions. We have seen a number of candidates, they come out of the examination hall and they say, we have marked 96 questions, we have marked 98 questions. Believe me, in our opinion, that's very foolish. Because if a candidate is attempting 96 or 98 questions, they are attempting those questions where for sure they have been marking wrong answers, because no one can prepare for those questions. Those questions are being asked from some certain areas which even a faculty would not be confident about. The faculties who are teaching in the field of civil services, even they would not be confident about those areas. And there is no reason for attempting those questions. Even without attempting those questions, you can qualify in prelims. Clear? Because prelims was what? Prelims was a test of seeing whether you have the right temperament, whether you, under pressure, you can maintain your composure or not. And at the same point of time, whether you have understood the philosophy of this examination or not, and whether you have prepared in the right direction or not. That's what prelims is. And these people, they made the mistake there. Clear? So is it a fault of UPSC? No, it's not a fault of UPSC. UPSC knows what they're doing. UPSC knows what it is doing. Right? People in UPSC know what they're doing. So it's not their fault. They have a philosophy and they're properly following that philosophy. It's our problem that we didn't understand that philosophy. We didn't care to understand that philosophy. Clear? Then comes the main examination. See, again, before talking about main examination, let me talk about the scenario. Okay? In case of, in the life of a civil servant, what is a civil servant supposed to do? The civil servant is not only there to handle difficult situations. The civil servant is also there to ensure that the administration is working properly. The department where the civil servant has been entrusted, that department performs properly. And for that, not only the civil servant has to know ins and outs of the department where he or she is working, the civil servant should also be able to properly communicate. Right now, what am I doing? I am communicating with you, but this is verbal communication. Right? In the life of a civil servant, the civil servant not only has to communicate verbally, but the civil servant is also required to communicate in written format, in writing. Right? And see, nowadays, none of us have the patience to read a report of 500 pages or so, right? We prefer reports which are concise, which are to the point, right? Where the exact problems, the nature of the exact problems have been discussed. They're crisp yet effective. That's exactly what UPSC expects from a candidate in mains answer writing. Okay. So, in case of mains, what's happening? Number one, if you look at the syllabus is pretty vast. Why pretty vast? Because you never know as a civil servant in which department you would be posted, right? First of all, this is a common examination for not only IAS examination, but also for IPS examination, also for Indian Foreign Service examination, also for Indian Revenue Service income tax, Indian Revenue Service customs excise. For so many different services, 24 different services, the civil servants for these 24 different services, they are being recruited from this same examination. So naturally, UPSC would try to find out the suitability of the candidate accordingly. And that's why the syllabus is quite vast, no doubt about it. At the same point of time, they're also trying to find out whether you can very easily develop reasonable command over a topic in a short period of time or not. Because see, even as an IS officer, say today you're posted in a district, maybe as an additional district magistrate or as a district magistrate. Tomorrow you can be posted in a department or in a ministry. How are you going to work there? You have to very fast develop your acumen. You have to very fast change your working style and adjust with that environment. At the same point of time, know about the ins and outs of the operation of that particular ministry or department. Gain a knowledge about that ministry or department and accordingly work there, right? So that's the reason why UPSC is making this particular examination, prelims, mains rather, sorry, in such a format, right? Where they're testing your ability to develop a reasonable mastery over so many aspects in such a short period of time. Just imagine, on one hand, I'm looking at science and technology. On the other hand, I'm also looking at Indian society. I'm looking at art and culture. Because as an IS officer, you can never say, okay, I'm only going to be posted in Department of Science and Technology or in MeitY, Ministry of Information and Technology, right? You can be posted in a Ministry of Culture. You can be posted in a Ministry of Social Justice. You can be posted in so many different ministries and departments, right? And you have to know at least the basics of those ministries, departments, and the places where you are working, right? Keeping that in mind, the syllabus has been prepared so that you know at least the basics, the foundations of all these departments and ministries. At the same point of time, these essay type questions, as we call them, right? Mostly analytical. Why? To check your analytical ability, whether you have that ability to analyze any situation, and see, mostly in mains, the questions are also connected with the present scenario. They're not theoretical, they're not completely theoretical in nature. They're mostly application oriented. Okay, whatever we are studying in the books, in the constitution or elsewhere, how those things are getting applied on the ground, how those things are becoming applied on the field. And that's how the questions are also being framed. I hope you understand why these kind of questions are being framed by UPSC. And then they are also trying to find out whether you are being able to write the answers in a concise way within the given word limit, within the given time frame, given the limited resources. This is one more thing that a civil servant encounters: limited resources. See, India might be the fifth largest economy of the world right now, but even then, given this huge population proportion, resources are not infinite. A civil servant has to work within the given scope of finite resources. That's also what UPSC is trying to ascertain, whether you can handle the limited resources and work accordingly or not. That's why, see, in mains examination, They are printing the questions on the answer sheet, giving you restricted area to write, where the time is rationed. Say for a short question, you'll be having something around 6.5 minutes to 7 minutes. For a long question, some 13.5 minutes. Yeah, to that level, they're testing your professionalism. So, what all things are they testing in main examination? Number one, your professionalism. Number two, whether you can communicate properly or not. Number three, whether you're developing reasonable mastery over the basics of so many different areas, right? So all these things are being done in main examination, right? Next comes personality test. Yes, it's not an interview, it is a personality test. Interview is what? Interview is a test of your knowledge, right? That test of knowledge, say in your college, if campusing is happening in your college, the companies who come to your college for campus placement, they go for interview. They try to understand how much knowledge you have developed over the topic, over the subject. That test of knowledge is already being done in the main examination. And UPSC is also operating with finite resources. They do not have infinite resources. So why would they be doing this thing again? Why they would try to understand your knowledge again in personality test or in interview rather? No, there's no reason for that. So what are they doing? They're trying to ascertain, they're trying to find out who you are, how open-minded you are, whether you can think out of the box, whether you're being able to properly identify the problems or not, whether you're being able to analyze the situation, whether you have a proper understanding of your surrounding. Number of you may ask me that why in personality tests they ask questions from current affairs. Obviously, current affairs is what? It is the study of your surrounding, whatever is happening in and around you. That should be the personality trait of a civil servant. And that's the reason why they ask questions from current affairs, even in personality test. Clear? So that's how they structure this examination. That's how they conduct this examination. So believe me, every stage here, every stage, by stage I mean preliminary examination, main examination, personality test, they all are structured very professionally. Additionally, I missed this. In case of personality test, your verbal communication skill, that's also tested. Whether you can concisely elaborate a topic or concisely discuss a topic, you can hit the right note, you can reach the right point, right? Whether you can think in a structured way, whether you speak in a structured way, because believe me, an unstructured discussion is very difficult to understand. So whether you're being able to communicate in a structured way or not, and here by communication I mean verbal communication, these are the things which UPS is trying to find out. So I hope you understand how professionally this whole examination is structured. Clear? That's what we were trying to do here in this particular discussion, in this particular webinar, the YouTube live that we are doing. I hope I have been able to give you at least the overview of what they're doing, of how they're trying to find out, or what kind of job they're doing. By they, I mean UPSC, while conducting this examination, and how to approach this examination professionally. That's what my intention was to with respect to this particular YouTube live or this particular webinar. Now, if any of you have any doubt, please feel free to ask questions, please. Anyone here having any doubt? Somehow I'm not being able to see the chat section here. Maybe that is the because it's still now showing me that something has gone wrong, and they are not telling me what is the problem. What's the problem here? Okay, I'm still waiting for. Anyway, since I'm not being able to see the chat section here, I don't know whether any of you have put anything in the chat or not. Right. Once I end the stream, what I'll be doing, I'll be going for the chat section. If any doubt is there, I will be sharing my opinion and my answer to that question there in the chat. And at the same point of time, we will be sharing this the link of this particular video in your YouTube in your group as well, the WhatsApp group, the respective group, WhatsApp group where you are. We'll be sharing the link of this video there, and we'll also be sharing some material on that topic. Okay, please go through that material. And also, as I told you, that if any of you have posted any query in the chat section, since I'm not being able to see the chat here right now, I will be answering the questions there in the chat. Okay, I hope I have been able to clarify your doubts somewhat with respect to understanding civil services examination, which was the topic of the day, right? uh, I don't know how much I have been able to satisfy your query. I hope I have been able to reach the right spot, right? Thank you. Thank you all. And also, we'll be continuing with this live streaming in the coming days. Okay. So practically what we'll be doing, let's do it on a regular basis on every Sunday from 11:30 onwards. We will be going for this YouTube lives. Okay. And I'll be announcing the topics beforehand, that what topic I'm going to discuss on the next Sunday, so that you can be mentally prepared as well. Right. Chalo. Thank you. Thank you all. Bye.